Hello, this is Matt on the Moon Family Sedan channel. I've got two topics to share with you in this latest Moon Family Sedan Tepid Jam. Turns out that members of the House are actually holding Gary Gensler accountable. Has to do with, it's still unbelievable if you just think about this. Like, look at Gary Gensler literally attacking Kim Kardashian for a paid tweet about a cryptocurrency where she divulged that it was an ad. So think about Gary Gensler doing that. Then literally meeting with Sam Bankman-Fried running a gigantic Ponzi scheme, couldn't sniff out the problem there. Well, now, House members of the good old United States here holding Gary Gensler accountable for this, and this may just be the beginning of many pushes on all sorts of topics, all sorts of things having to do with crypto. Also, there's this thread which I found to be rather thoughtful from my fellow XRP YouTuber, the Blockchain Backer, in which he holds a position that he thinks is actually not popular, although I'm not sure if it's popular or not. It'd be interesting to see a poll. I'd love to hear what you guys think about this, but he holds an opinion that it looks like what Kraken did, mind you, I think you all know that, but just in case you didn't at this point, Kraken recently settled with the SEC for $30 million and had to shut down their the program they had regarding staking. And I honestly, and I'm still willing to be persuaded here. I'm not like 100% like cemented in terms of my thoughts on this, but from what I've seen from attorneys who have talked about this, there actually is a case to be made that in this specific instance, and it pains me to say, is the SEC potentially could be accurate, and that's a position that the Blockchain Backer holds. And I've seen this from attorneys that make the arguments against the SEC in terms of it's not the coin that's a security, which is why the SEC's approach on all the other stuff, it's pretty ridiculous. But when it comes to something like this, the SEC technically could be right. And again, I'm willing to be persuaded, but I think that the Blockchain Backer makes some good points here, so I thought I'd share with you what he had to say. And you guys tell me what you think. But before going further ado, and be clear, I do not have a legal or financial background of any kind. I am not offering legal or financial advice. And you definitely should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. I'm just an enthusiast who enjoys making YouTube videos about crypto-related topics, but just as a hobby and just for fun. All right, so here's a tweet from Rep. Bill Hazinga. I can't remember how to pronounce his name. Or Bill, is it Huizinga? Jenga? I don't know. Anyway, so here's what Rep. Bill had to say. Since Gary Gensler won't abide by his own policies to come in and talk, the House GOP will hold him accountable. Today, as promised, our oversight of the SEC begins with a request for documents surrounding their interactions with FBF, FTX, and the Justice Department. And so it reads as follows. So here's the actual letter. This is written by the two House GOP guys to Kim Jong-Gensler. Dear Chair Gensler, on December 13th, 2022, the House Committee on Financial Services held a hearing about the collapse of FTX. John Ray, the current CEO of FTX, tasked with unwinding the organization after its collapse, testified before our committee about his progress. We also expected to hear testimony from FTX's former CEO, Sam Bankman-Fried. However, the night before the committee's hearing, Bahamian officials arrested him in anticipation of an extradition request from the United States. Bahamian authorities announced that they made the arrest after being notified by the United States that it had filed criminal charges against Sam Bankman-Fried. Following that announcement, the U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of New York confirmed that he had filed an indictment against Sam Bankman-Fried and that the indictment would be unsealed the following morning, Tuesday, December 13th, 2022. The night of Sam Bankman-Fried's arrest, Gerber Gruhl, the SEC's director of the Division of Enforcement, released a statement praising the arrest and announced that the SEC authorized charges against Sam Bankman-Fried. On December 13th, 2022, the SEC filed charges against Sam Bankman-Fried for concealing his diversion of FTX customer funds to crypto trading firm Alameda Research while raising more than $1.8 billion from investors. Presumably, the SEC's Division of Enforcement did a complete investigation into the actions by Sam Bankman-Fried and presented the findings to the Commission for its review and to authorize the charges. Yet, the timing of the charges and his arrest raised serious questions about the SEC's process and cooperation with the Department of Justice. The American people deserve transparency from you and your agency. For those reasons, please produce the following. By the way, let's pause to say, of course we deserve transparency. That's about the last thing the SEC wants to provide. For all of us here in the XRP community that have been following the SEC v. Ripple case, the degree to which the SEC fights to avoid transparency, it's astounding. But anyway, so here's what they say they want. Please produce the following. Number one, all records and communications between and among any employee in the SEC's Division of Enforcement, including but not limited to Gerber S. Gruhl, for the period of November 2nd, 2022 to February 9th, 2023, referring or relating to the charges filed against Sam Bankman-Fried. Number two, all records and communications between and among any employee in the office of the chair, including but not limited to Gary Gensler, for the period of November 2nd, 2022 to February 9th, 2023, referring or relating to charges filed against Sam Bankman-Fried. And three, all records and communications between and among any employee of the SEC and the Department of Justice for the period of November 2nd, 2022 to February 9th, 2023, referring or relating to charges filed against Sam Bankman-Fried. So, folks, I'm guessing there's going to be a bunch of stonewalling here, or if stuff is sent, it's going to be incomplete. We know the whole rigmarole that the SEC engages in when there are requests for documents. Is it going to be any different just because a couple members of the House are like, hey, send this on over? Maybe, but I'm kind of skeptical. They want everything that they possibly can keep secret to remain secret. But either way, I just wanted to point this out because it is nice. So it's a start. It's a beginning, pushing back against all things crypto, against Kim Jong Gensler. So we'll see what comes of this, but I want to see an attack on other fronts, regarding other approaches that the SEC has been taking regarding crypto. In particular, the fact that there is a incredible lack of clarity from a regulatory perspective. That has to be addressed, and there's all sorts of people in the House that recognize this, and they have been stating for some time that there's going to be a stronger push here. So then on the next topic, of course, also having to do with the SEC, this idea of, did Kraken actually do something wrong? Did they do something illegal? Well, here's what my fellow XRP YouTuber, the Blockchain Backer, had to say, and I think he makes a pretty good case here. Again, I want to hear more perspectives before I have like a truly firm opinion, but I tend to think, based on the analysis I've gotten, not just from the Blockchain Backer, but also from attorneys who I respect just in the world of crypto, not even just within our community. Not that I want to, I don't want to defend the SEC, but I think that there is a compelling case that the SEC may technically be in the right. Now, if you have a strong case to the contrary, especially if you're an attorney, articulate it to me and I can be persuaded for sure. But you got to share it with me, okay? But here's what the Blockchain Backer had to say. This is not going to be a favored opinion, but I might see where the SEC is coming from on this enforcement action against Kraken. One, Kraken is not just offering staking, they are somehow offering yield. How? Do you know? Do you have the disclosure? Bitcoin staking at 1.25%? Number two, are the funds separate that are being staked? If Kraken were to go bankrupt, do you lose your money? Are you a creditor to Kraken? If Kraken goes bankrupt and you lose all your money, were you aware that was possible? Are the funds separated on the balance sheet? If you don't know how Kraken is earning you 1.25% yield on your Bitcoin, when Bitcoin isn't proof of stake, and you don't know if you lose your staked assets should Kraken go bankrupt, then are you receiving fair disclosures and understanding the risk associated with staking with Kraken? And so I'll pause now. Perfectly fair questions, very reasonable questions. It's still, even though I do lean towards right now the Blockchain Backer being right on this in general, I still want to point out, I'm completely remiss if I didn't point this out. There's still, to my knowledge, is not a path forward for setting up such a program in the United States, and it needs to be able to exist from a legal perspective, even if it requires specific disclosures that haven't been made. There still has to be a path forward. There's not a path forward. So I still have a problem with that. Like, the SEC is repulsive and disgusting to me regardless. Like, that hasn't changed. And then he says, it's a fair point to make, especially with FTX. It essentially makes you an investor in Kraken, relying on them being solvent in order to get your funds back. And the question is, are people aware of that? Risking everything on Kraken's solvency for 3% APY on an altcoin? I'm not aware of Kraken's business model or know how they were treating the funds. I'm just reflecting on the point made by the SEC after watching BlockFi, Three Arrows Capital, Celsius, FTX all go down in flames and the customers became creditors not knowing they were. I don't like the process the SEC went with. Seems like a $30 million extortion where no victims will be paid because no one got victimized by Kraken's staking. But I see yield offered on coins like Bitcoin and whether stakers are loaning funds and subject to Kraken solvency. We all know not your keys, not your coins. I self-custody nearly all of my crypto. But the road to long-term mass adoption is third-party custodial solutions for most people. Not just crypto diehards, but regular 9-to-5ers, grandma, etc. They need custody. But they need custody where they aren't at risk of the custodial provider solvency. Yeah, and so I think that those are all very reasonable points. And I've saying for a long time, even though I want to custody my own crypto, there will always be people that don't want to deal with that and the responsibility of it. Or, what if I lose my private keys? I understand there are people like that. So if you can have a system in place, especially if it's effectively insured, if you can just set up that system, I wouldn't be as leery about it. It's just, in 2023, are we there? No. Should we be in the future? Yes. And I think we will. It's just, we're nascent asset class here, guys. So, good questions. Where's the yield coming from? Folks, and look, and again, whatever you think, it's fine. I think that there's going to be people that agree with the blockchain background, myself, and people that disagree, and that's fine. And again, I'm not 100% firm on my stance right now, but I think it's an interesting conversation here, and people should know what they're getting into. But I'll go ahead and wrap it up here, and you guys let me know what you think in the comment section below. I'm not a financial advisor. You should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. That would be a very, very, very bad idea. Until next time, to the Moon Family Sedan.